So now that we've built our first Ethernet crossover cable, let's talk about how Ethernet evolved to become what it is today. It really started off in the early 70s, where there was the first packet radio network, and then the Palo Alto research facility of Xerox, a gentleman by the name of Steve Metcalf, created Ethernet in the lab there at the Palo Alto research facility. Now, what's interesting about that is Steve Metcalf founded some small company called 3Com. Maybe you've heard of them. And that Palo Alto research facility has some interesting history in the lore of the computer industry itself. A couple small players in the world of computers today had a few visits there to the Palo Alto research facility. Steve Jobs, in particular, was invited to go to the Palo Alto research facility to check out their GUI operating system that they were creating, and they invented the mouse there, and Steve Jobs was so enthralled by the fact that they had this graphical interface, and was using that to base what became the first Macintosh computer. Of course, the short-sightedness, and really interesting, the short-sightedness of what Xerox did at the time, and I have no real beefs with Xerox, but come on, guys, you invented half of the stuff, if not more of the stuff we're using today. The Palo Alto research facility, the people inventing this stuff, the managers were quoted as saying, "A mouse? Who the heck's going to use this? It's a toy. We make copy machines here. No one's ever going to use this stuff." Needless to say, it took a visionary like Steve Jobs to take that and run with it and create the company that today is Apple. But he was also quoted as saying, "You know what? I was walking over all the Ethernet cable and just with blinders on, never saw it. Never even recognized the fact that the data infrastructure was sitting at my feet, and I never even looked at it. He was so enthralled by the graphical user interface that he never thought about the fact that the transport of the information from device to device was as big of an invention than the actual GUI itself." So in 1977, there's a patent issued for Xerox for Ethernet itself. And then Digital, Intel, and Xerox collaborate together to create the first 10 megabit Ethernet standard, which was referred as the DICS Ethernet standard. From there, you had the IEEE come in and create the approval and create the 802 committee. Now, the 802 committee figures. You stick a bunch of engineers in a room together, and they come up with, a name of something, and they come up with a number, right? I always thought it was my birthday, which just so happens to be August 2nd. But no, in fact, it was February of 1980, the 802 committee. Now, the 802 committee comes out with, all the different substandards. So there's there's a standard committee for Ethernet, which is 802.3, and a standard committee for the IBM version. They just massage it to their own 802.5 version of Token Ring. Also 802.10, which was FDDI, and 802.11, which we use for wireless networks now today, very prevalently in our networks. So the IEEE committee, adding letter indications after all the standards that come out for Ethernet. 802.3 was the first standard committee-based application for Ethernet, and then from there 802.3D was spanning tree, and 802.3Z was gigabit-rated Ethernet, and you have 3AF, which is power over Ethernet, and finally the latest one showing on the slide here is 802.3AE, which was 10 gigabit Ethernet. So there's lots of different things that evolved here as far as the overall creation of this cable here today.